Hello, everybody. It's RavenWood, and welcome back to the Ren Fandom. I am your host, RavenWood, and welcome back to a sort of an emergency stream because last night it ended at an awkward pause or ended at an awkward moment or ended awkwardly, regardless. Um, and so today would be kind of sort of just emergency, like short mini stream. Basically, what I'm trying to going well, not trying to do. Basically, what I'm going to do for this stream is sip some coffee first of all. Hello. And the co-host. Hold on one second. The co-host is a bit. Okay, that's here. Let me try giving it more of a pedestal. There we go. There you go. The pig. My hair is a bit wet today, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that I'll read until this is done, and this is not going to be a long stream or whatever. This is going to be a short stream, so we're going to kind of sort of pick up where we left off, sort of, or let's go back to the stopping point that we sort of stopped at. If not, I'm just going to reread this segment and then just continue reading onwards. But basically, before November ends, we will finish this chapter. Not this chapter. Finish this story. All right, so let me take another sip of my coffee. And let's continue. Yeah, okay, so wait. I see. In the dream, Sarah screamed. She opened her eyes to find Eleanor over her bed. Let's start with the dream first. Sorry. Sarah settled down happily to sleep, but her rest was disturbed by a strange dream. She was on a date with Mason, sitting in the movie theater, but when he reached over to her hand, it was not his hand. She grasped at Eleanor's tiny, white, metallic, and cold, the same hand she had grabbed to pull the robot girl out of the car trunk. When she turned to look at Mason in the seat next to her, he had changed into Eleanor. Eleanor smiled, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. In the dream, Sarah screamed. She opened her eyes to find Eleanor standing over her bed, her head lowered, staring at her with her blank green eyes. Sarah gasped. Did I make a noise in my sleep? No, Sarah. Sarah looked at Eleanor, who was standing so close to her bed that she was touching it. Then what are you doing standing over my bed? Didn't you know, Sarah? Didn't you know, Sarah? Eleanor said, reaching out to brush the back of Sarah's hair. I do this every night. I watch over you. I keep you safe. Maybe it was because of the dream, but for some reason, Sarah didn't feel like letting Eleanor touch her. Safe from what? Sarah asked. Safe from danger, any danger. I want to protect you, Sarah. Okay, thanks, I guess. She appreciated Eleanor's concern, appreciated everything Eleanor had done for her. You could have just said, and everything else, but, whatever. But still, it was creepy for someone to watch you when you didn't know where you were being watched. even if they were doing it with the best of intentions. The best intentions. Something Jurassic Park line. Remember, folks, after I'm done with this, I'll read Will-O-Wisp, and then I promise my brother I'll read one chapter of Jurassic Park, because roughly around the corner would be another Jurassic Park film. Apparently, that's my best guess. I think that's when the Jurassic Park film is going to be out. This not this year, next year. Sorry. Well, you know what I mean. Because of the fact that we're practically less than a month. Not less, more than a month away. Well, slightly the end of this month, and then the next month is December, leading into the next year, right? And then so basically, almost here, but like you get what I'm saying. This year is almost over for the next year. Yeah. Anyways. Doing with the best of intentions. I can stand by the door if that makes you more comfortable, Sarah, Eleanor said. Yeah, that would be great. Sarah was pretty sure she couldn't fall back asleep with Eleanor standing right over her like that. Eleanor strolled over to the door and stood guard there. Good night, Sarah. Sleep well. Now, I wish she said Sarah, because I kind of like the idea of like her ending with her sentences with just Sarah. And by the way, I do need a haircut. Sleep well. Good night, Eleanor. Sarah didn't sleep well. She didn't know what, but something was wrong. In the cafeteria, Sarah stood in line with the other beautifuls. No, excuse me. Sarah stood in line with the other beautifuls as they waited to empty their trays. Excuse me. Lydia had texted the night before saying that they'd all be wearing their skinny jeans today, so Sarah was wearing hers too. You could just stand out, make the beautifuls want to dress like you for now on, or maybe have you like kind of sort of like the new leader, I guess, or I don't know how this system works. I'm just saying that like you can make them jealous of you. You're now beautiful. You've achieved your dreams, right? You now have a boyfriend. You've achieved some celebrities. Oh, come on. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My computer said no data. And I was like, oh, come on. Barely 10 minutes into the stream and we're already just non-existent. Fine. It's just, you already know the moral lessons of life, whatnot. Okay, sorry. Give me a second. In the cafeteria, the beautiful jeans day. So Sarah was wearing hers too. She bought the jeans and a few tops, an extra pair of cute shoes when her mom had taken her shopping the other week. They had also bought a few bras that did her new figure justice. I'm also trying to read like a little bit fast. Well, I don't have all day, but I have like enough day. to work. I have enough day before I go to work and whatnot and all jazz. I have enough of. I just kind of want to get this done. It's just like I'm ready for the next book. Let's get this done. And also, last night was not last night. Sunday, not Sunday. Saturday evening was just blipped out of existence. I forgot that. I forgot yesterday was Sunday. I know yesterday was Sunday, but didn't do a stream last night. I did a stream Saturday evening, I think. Anyways, no, I did. Anyways, regardless, I want to do a stream this morning because, like, I kind of just want to get this story done as fast as possible. They also bought a few bras that did her new figure justice. Can you believe what she's wearing? She dresses like a preschooler, Lydia said. Like a preschooler from a poor family, Tabitha added. Tabitha. Like a preschooler from a poor family, Tabitha added. With honor, Sarah realized the girl, with horror, took me a second. With horror, Sarah realized the girl they were criticizing was Abby, who was emptying her tray ahead of them. True, Abby was wearing pink overalls, so the preschooler comment wasn't too far off the mark, but it seemed mean to reduce someone's whole value as a person to the clothes she wore. That's Abby, Sarah heard herself saying. She's really nice. She's been my friend since kindergarten. She almost found herself saying best friend, but she stopped herself in time. Ooh. Why would you stop yourself from saying best friend? That should be a red flag that you have changed as a person. And this should also be a sign that you're doing this out of peer pressure. Yeah, Lydia said. Yeah, Lydia said, laughing. But you've in kindergarten, and she hasn't. The Beautifuls all laughed too. Gosh, he's so terrible. Sarah tried to smile. Sarah tried for a smile, but she couldn't quite manage it. When it was Sarah's turn to dump her tray, she stepped on something slippery near the trash can. Her new shoes were cute, but they didn't have much traction. The fall felt like it took forever, but she was sure it was only a matter of seconds. Then she was flat on her back, right in front of the whole school. Sarah, that was hilarious, Lydia said. What a collapse. Oh, see how fast they were willing to turn on you? See how fast they were willing to turn on her I say turn on you, Sarah, but like how fast they were to turn on to Sarah. I'm just saying, it was like a snake eating another snake. Let's see, where was I? Her new shoes were cute, but they didn't have much traction. Oh yeah, what a class! She was doubled over laughing. All the Beautifuls were laughing along her, saying, "Did you see her go down? She hit the floor like a ton of bricks, and how embarrassing!" Now, granted, some of this is fine because, like, nowadays everyone's like being, and from what I noticed nowadays, like teens, kids, from what I've observed, like everyone's like, oh, it's fine. Well, mostly with boys. When a boy Or a guy, excuse me, stretching. Oh, so sorry. So sorry. I try not to stretch on screen, but can't help it. I stretch. I try to stretch, but then sometimes I just get an extra stretch. Anyways, I have a long slender body, so I find myself like stretching like a lot. Um, um, where was I? Oh, like guys, like when we like mock each other, like, oh, okay, he fumbled, oh, he did that, oh, it's all in fun games. Everyone knows, at least everyone like perceives it like, oh, okay, it's all fun and games. We're all just making fun of each other. It's fine. Girls, what girls do is, from what I observe, it's kind of savage. Like they tried to, I guess, like they tried to like be like as playful as guys are, like oh ha ha ha, right? Just laugh it out, but like no, girls sometimes it could be more savage than a guy. How embarrassing! In Sarah's state, she couldn't really tell which girl was saying what. Their voices sounded distant and distorted, almost as if Sarah was trying to hear from them underwater. Sarah tried to pull herself up, but something strange was happening to her body. She heard weird clashing and clanging sounds and couldn't figure out where they were coming from. It didn't make any sense, but they felt like they were coming from inside of her. She was shaking and jerking, and she couldn't make her body move the way it usually did. Her body was no longer under her control. She was scared. Had she hurt herself badly? Should someone call her mom? Call an ambulance? And why were her new friends not helping her? They were still laughing, still joking about how stupid she looked and how funny it was. Then the beautiful's laughter were replaced by screams. As if from a great distance. Sarah heard Lydia saying, "What's happening to her? I don't understand. I don't want to know." I don't want to know. Sorry. I don't know. One of the other girls said, "Someone needs to do something. Get a teacher quick." Another one said. A terrible thought occurred to Sarah. She put her hand to her throat. The necklace Eleanor gave her, the necklace that was never ever to be taken off, was gone. Dun dun dun. Now typically most fairy tales like, oh hey, it's not like, oh hey, it's not the person's fault that the MacGuffin or the thingamabob, right? The magical weapon, it's out of the person's curiosity that they take it off, or they fiddle with it, or they do something, or they put their finger on the spinning wheel, right? Just saying. Okay, so what I do want to say is that, like, where was I? I blanked out. Yeah, right. Okay, so usually it's not, but in this case, this was a pure accident, something that could not be controlled in her favor. Yeah, they can remember. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a fairy tale. This is a Fazbear fright story. The scary stories are like kind of like, I've heard that I've heard that like some fairy tales are like, oh no, this is horrible. This is a very demented story. Very scary story. And which, by the way, did you know that apparently, I'm not certain, but I think a friend told me that that fairy tales were initially meant for not kids, but fairy tales were initially meant for adults, um, which surprised me. And then it was like the grim fairy, excuse me, the Grimm brothers fairy tales that kind of changed and or whatever. They altered the stories or whatever, and they aimed it more towards children and whatnot. And then it came along Disney. Okay, Zeus. Uh, where was I? Okay, so up to she turned her head on the floor just more than than an arm's length away. She had to get it back. A hand reached down to help her. Sarah looked up to see that the hand belonged to Abby. She took it and allowed herself to be pulled up into an awkward standing position. When Sarah looked down at her body, she saw the reason for the girl's screams. Her body was changing. From the waist down, she was no longer a flesh and blood girl, but a jumbled collection of gears and bicycle spokes and hubcaps, rusted metal odds and ends, cast off useless parts that belonged that belonged in a wrecking yard. She locked eyes with Abby and saw her friend's horror at what she was, at what had she become. I've got to go. This is the opposite of a Cinderella story. Just saying, this is horror. Obviously, but like still, it's like, it's kind of sad. I feel sad for the main character. Damn. I've already read this, but I still feel sad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've got to go. Her voice sounded different, metallic, and harsh. Abby held out the necklace. You dropped this, she said. Tears sparkled in her eyes. Thank you, Abby. You're a good friend, Sarah said. She didn't say anything to the Beautifuls, who had all backed away from her and whispering among themselves. Sarah grabbed the pendant and ran as fast as her new. Sarah grabbed the pendant and ran as of the cafeteria and out of the school, home. Would know what to do. Would know how to help her. Sarah was still changing. I'm still checking the connection. Sarah was still changing. Her torso was hardening, and when she ran, she made squeaking noises like a door with hinges that needed oiling. It just kind of did the door. I hate that noise too. It's just. But I'm also trying to like imagine like how like that noise, that like weird creaking noise, but with running. So like, no, it's not working. I can't do it. Can't imagine it. I can imagine the door noise, and I can probably make sort of, but like the walking, whatever. Just read. I don't know why I do that. My brain tells me like, hey, it'd be fun if you could just make noise and just. Anyways, I need to focus. Okay. Hinges that need oiling. Okay, I'm doing excellent. Okay, good. She tried to fasten the necklace around her neck again, but her fingers had grown too stiff to manage the clasp. As she hurried down the sidewalk with a clattering, shambling gait, not Gate. Gate. Sorry, Gate. Gait. I don't know why it's the other word. People stopped to stare at her. Drivers slowed down their cars to gawk. People didn't look sympathetic or even confused. They looked scared. It's kind of like the Michael Afton, the Michael Afton scene at the end of at the 2020 mode cutscenes for Sister Location, where you have like Michael Afton walking, but at the end he's just walking like a robot. Anyways, they looked scared. She was a monster, like something that had created scientists in a lab. Data. Come on. Excellent data. We have fixed the data. Hello. We're still here. It's 20. We're now 27 minutes in. We may have to do another emergency stream if this stream crashes. Boo. She felt like crying, but apparently the kind of thing she was becoming was incapable of producing tears. Maybe tears would make her rust even worse. Her joints were getting stiffer and stiffer, and it was growing harder and harder to run. But she had to get home. Eleanor was the only one who could help her. Finally, after what seemed like hours, she reached her house. Finally, she managed to work the key in the door. She clinked and clanked through the living room and down the hall, calling, "Eleanor! Eleanor!" Her voice was a terrible metallic scraping. Eleanor was not in her usual corner of Sarah's room. Sarah searched the closet, looked under the bed, opened the chest at the door. Opened the chest at the foot of the bed. No Eleanor. Sarah clomped through the house, searching her mom's room, the bathroom, the kitchen, all the time calling Eleanor's name with her new horrible voice. The garage was the only place she hadn't looked. She used the kitchen entrance, but doorknobs were getting difficult to manage. Oh, shoot. Finally, a few desperate minutes of fiddling. She was in the darkened garage. "Eleanor!" she called again. Her jaw was stiff, and it was getting harder and harder to form more words. Eleanor's name came out as Anna. Maybe the robot girl was hiding from her on purpose. Maybe it was some kind of joke or game. She looked at the ceiling-high or storage cabinet against the back of the garage. It seemed like a good hiding place. With some difficulty, she grabbed the handle of the cabinet door and pulled. Yeah, I can still see this as being some sort of 8-bit game. Maybe like a short game, because like there's not going to be much jump scares in this. For if you were to adapt this into a video game, there won't be, unfortunately, wouldn't be much jump scares. There might be some dreams. You could definitely have like dream scenarios of Eleanor trying to survive her beauty rest, right? So that there's that. You could have that. I guess you'd like. You could probably do that, I guess, make it somewhat difficult. Anyways, draw. Maybe the robot girl was hiding on purpose and some kind of joke game. She looked at the high ceiling storage cabinet against the back of the wall of the garage. It seemed like a good hiding place. With some difficulty, she grabbed the handle of the cabinet door and pulled. It was an avalanche. Avalanche! It was an avalanche. Clear plastic bags holding different objects with different weights and sizes toppled out of the cabinet and fell to the floor with a dull, sickening thud. Sarah looked at the floor. At first, her brain couldn't even process what she saw. One bag contained a human leg, another a human arm. They were not the body parts of an adult, and they didn't appear to be the result of an accident. Blood pooled in the bottom of the bags, but the limbs had been severed neatly, as if in a surgical amputation. Another bag stuffed with in another bag stuffed with bloody snake-like entrails, and what appeared to be liver slid from the cabinet's shelf and landed on the floor with a wet splat. Sorry. Why were there body parts in her garage? This is coming from a book, by the way. Why were there body parts in her garage? Book reading. Sarah didn't fully understand until she saw the small bag that held a familiar-looking potato-shaped nose. She screamed, but the sound that came out of her was like a squealing of car brakes. Behind her came a metallic, tingling laugh. Sarah's lower body was almost immobile, but she dragged herself around to face Eleanor. I made your wish come true, Sarah. The pretty robot with another metallic giggle. And in return, Sarah noticed something she'd never seen on Eleanor before. A heart-shaped button just below Eleanor's throat. That was a double of Sarah's heart-shaped pendant. Eleanor laughed again, then pushed the heart-shaped button as she jerked and shook. But she also visibly softened, her silver finish turning the pinkish shade of Caucasian skin. In a matter of moments, she was a dead ringer for Sarah. The old Sarah. The real Sarah. The Sarah who, looking back on it, hadn't been so bad looking after all. The Sarah who had spent way too much time worrying about her appearance. Abby had been right. She had been right about a lot of things. Eleanor pulled on an old pair of Sarah jeans, one of her sweaters, and her tennis shoes. Well, you certainly made my wishes come true, Eleanor said, smiling with Sarah's old smile. She pushed the button that opened the garage door. Sunlight flooded the room, and Eleanor Sarah gave a little wave, then skipped out into the sunshine and down the sidewalk. Sarah's ears filled with a deafening clinking and clanking. She couldn't control her movements. Different rusted metal parts disconnected from her and fell clattering to the floor. She was falling apart, collapsing into an ugly trash heap. Hideous, useless collection of garbage to be thrown away and forgotten. In an old mirror propped up against the garage wall, she saw herself. She was no longer a pretty girl or a girl at all. She didn't resemble a human of any kind. She was nothing but a rusty, dirty pile of junk. She felt sad, then scared, and then nothing else. For the next story. Sorry, Mr. Piggy, I'm gonna be a little bit lower. I hope Mr. Piggy enjoyed it. And we'll kind of sort of start the first paragraph of the next story. Will o' the Mill. The Plane and the Stars. All right, before I do, let's drink some more coffee. Was it enjoyable? I hope that was enjoyable. That was a great read. I enjoyed that story. That was awesome. That was amazing. And I hope those beautifuls learned their lesson. We taught them well, folks. And I hope Abby gets to the bottom of this mystery. Maybe there will be a sequel to that story where Abby tries to figure out what happened to Sarah and whatnot. But for the next story, we will prepare for this week. Now, what I'm going to do is when I start the Will of the Mill story, for this week or for this week, I will reread the first paragraph, probably. But right now, because I still wanted this stream to go a little bit longer, let's start reading. The mill where Will lived with his adopted parents stood in a falling valley between pine woods and great mountains. Above all, hill after hill soared upwards until they soared out way up. A long gray village lay like a seam or a rag of vapor on a wooded hillside. And when the sound of the church bells would drop down, thin and silvery. Below, the valley grew ever and at the same time widened out on either hand, and from an immense eminence beside the mill, it was possible to see its whole length and away beyond it over a wide plain, where the river turned and shone and moved on from city to city moved from city to city on its voyage towards the sea. It changed that over this valley there lay a pass into a neighboring kingdom, so that quite in ruler I'll get it by the time we get to the next stream. Ruler. It was the road that ran along beside the river was a high thoroughfare between two splendid and powerful societies. And I want to continue, but that is where we will stop for next week. Not next week, for this week, but the end of this, either Thursday, Saturday, either Thursday and or Friday, Saturday. We might do a morning stream Friday, or during the day, not an evening. Friday, I do have Better Fan Fiction night, so I keep that in mind as well. So Time is time, right? Anyways, so with that, the stream can continue. For just a little bit. We got time. Got plenty of time. I finished that book with ease. I feel like it's just important to, for the moral stories, there's several morals of this one particular story that you could probably aim at. Know who your friends are, right? Like literally pick up the flags of like what, not physically pick up actual flags, but like pick up flags of like what type of friends that you have, right? Or if you even consider them as friends, like right. I guess you could probably have like a tier list of like what type of people you hang out with, right? So these people are not my best friends, but they're sort of friends, right? But always try to like hang out with that number one friend, or you know what I'm saying? They have your back. They know you, or they at least understand you, if that makes sense. Um, they a best friend cares about you, like Abby at the end. She was scared. She didn't know what was going on, right? Now, Eleanor Sarah could probably pull off like, oh, it's fine. That's fine. I don't know what lie she would have to say to convince Abby and the others. But basically, yeah. Anyways, there's no like, oh, here's the explanation for it, right? With the previous story, Into the Pit, I don't think it's actual time travel. I do think it's like some sort of memory travel in a way. Like they're, because of the fact that the ball pit is like has like some sort of like memory, like essence of agony, and also what was it? There's agony, and there's also like the other thing, right? Because uh, but anyways, the ball pit like kind of sort of just send them, not actually send them into the past, but like send them to like the memory of the past. That's that. I feel like that's the explanation for that, right? And that now the video game tells slightly different story. That they're actually going into the past and whatnot, right? But I do feel like the dad was wearing his old mill boots, which it would explain the spring trap's bite, this monster's bite, right? So I will iterate on this. Now, what I think is what's happening over here, it practically tells us that Eleanor used some sort of like projection, I guess. She used some sort of like disguise, I'm guessing. Um, she like took apart by part her she chopped up her. I would chop you to pieces and put you into a nice bowl of ice cream. Sorry. Eleanor obviously like took her apart, right? And for some reason, instead of like putting the body parts into her, right? Because like in sister location, they went into the main character, right? The robot, the Inard, right? Went in. Sounds weird, but like they got into the body of Mike right there. I feel like that's the best way to explain it, right? But this one is the opposite. She used her body to get accurate to get accurate, she purposely chopped up her body to get like accurate measurements so that Eleanor can disguise herself as Sarah, right? By using the pendant, right? And I don't think the pendant is magic. Obviously, it's some sort of like maybe some sort of like projection or something, or maybe it's like it. I don't want to say projection, but like it. It's one of those like sci-fi things where it makes people I guess not hologram. No, not necessarily a hologram, but like some sort of like sci-fi thing that makes people think or makes people see what Eleanor wants the person to see, right? Whew, excuse me. But and of course now Sarah is Frankenstein mess, just the opposite. Yeah, this is like a very Frankenstein, a very Frankenstein like story of Cinderella, basically. Um, um, yeah, so yeah, that's the end of that story. I'm glad we got to that ending in time so that we can have the end of that we got the fall, the autumn or whatever. The we can now start reading like not a Christmas story. This wouldn't be a Christmas story, but you know how the song goes like spooky ghost stories or whatever. Blah blah blah. I don't think Will the Mill is a spooky ghost story, but I think it might be spooky. Well, I don't know. It's a short story. I'm hoping to read the short story, The Will and Mill, and excuse me, sorry. My brain stopped working for a second there. Work, brain. Okay, thank you, brain. I'm hoping that we'll read the Will and Mill in between now and the end of December, if not somewhere in the beginning of January, right? And that way, January, or if we get done early, all right, the end of December, right, right, or anyways, somewhere around January, right, onward. I don't know how long the first chapter of Jurassic Park would be, but we'll read the first chapter of Jurassic Park, and then then after that we'll continue with the Artificer. Well, what I'm planning for the Artificer, chapter 4. Well, I'm planning for the Artificer, so we'll read chapter 4 of the Artificer. And then we'll read chapter 4 of the Artificer. And then I guess I'll read another chapter of Jurassic Park, I guess. I don't know. I'll think of something along the way. Or maybe we can, depending on the situation, we might just read the next story. Let's see. We'll read the next Fazbear Frights story. Count the Ways. Yeah, okay. And it's a pretty decent story. There's also like a bonus story at the back here about Detective Larson. Sort of a spoiler, sort of not a spoiler. Count the Ways. Now, okay, so there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to get done. And so we, yeah, Will Mill. Let's focus on reading Will Mill, and then the next one will be the Jurassic Park chapter. We'll read one chapter of Jurassic Park, unless it's a short chapter of Jurassic Park. But anyways, yeah, we'll read Jurassic Park, and then we'll get back to the Artificer, and then we'll get back to Five Nights at Freddy's. And then so once we're done with the first book of Five Nights at Freddy's, and once we're done with the Artificer, I will primarily focus on other stories. I'll find other stories to replace these two books. But we'll get to the other Fazbear stories. Don't get me wrong. We'll take a break from the Fazbear books for a bit. What I'm planning to do is finish reading the Fazbear. Finish reading the Fazbear Frights. I know I'm thinking about the future ahead of time because there's not much to talk about for that story. It's just like, oh, robot girl uses her evil, not magic. She uses like her evil like surgical devices. Why not? Not evil surgical devices. Evil surgeons. Right. Stealing organs from patients. Oh, no data. No data. No data. Excellent data. Excellent data. I've heard. Yeah, I've heard horror stories of doctors taking advantage of patients and whatnot, and purposely stealing some of their organs. I've heard horror stories like that. Like they'll take advantage of like a surgery or something. I've also heard horror stories of like people incorrectly stating whether a person was alive or not, or didn't give them enough morphine, or that's I've heard I'm just saying I've heard horror stories of the hospital and the awful things they've done to patients and whatnot. Granted, whether they were arrested or not, sued or not, that's different story. I don't know I don't know if there were any happy things to that. I don't know anything about that. I've heard of awful, bad faith doctors, basically. Now, I'm not saying don't go to a hospital ever. Don't go to a hospital in an ambulance. That's what I know. They for some reason they charge you on everything like hundreds of dollars on ambulance. And I've heard horror stories about ambulance bills. Now, technically speaking, you can pay them slowly, but preferably we shouldn't have to pay ambulances. The ambulance fee. What, like, how, like, there's a whole rant that we can go into that. That's just, I feel like that might also steer into maybe like politics or something, like in the comic. I can already see into the comic section. If there ever going to be a comment people in the comment section like, oh, it's ambulances, oh, the politics of this, of blah, 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 right? I'm also getting into the weeds of like anti-hospital conspiracy and whatnot. But I'm like, I'm not ready for that mindset or anything. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. And so, anyways, well, since there's nothing else to talk about, I'm also ready for this, the continuation of the story. But yeah, that's the end of the stream. Well, don't need to tell. I don't need this to tell me if this is good or not, because I'm about to end this stream. So remember, please leave a like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, comment down below if this is your favorite story. I personally love the story. I personally love the To Be Beautiful story, but I'm also glad that we were past it so we could read other stories that I generally like. I feel like the first 3 stories of the Fazbear Frights are really good, or really interesting, right? Not a single story, in my opinion, in the first volume of these Fazbear Fright of the Fazbear Frights, right? Not a single one of them miss, in my opinion. They're so. Like the short stories, like they're so. They can, like, some of them like I could yeah, right. There's some I can kind of like, this does not, they could do a little bit better at this area. I have small critiques about that, like on that sort of thing and whatnot. But anyways, until next time, bye bye.